You're listening to KPFT Houston. It's 7 o'clock and time for Songwriters Studio. I'm your host, Tom Tranchilla, and sitting alongside of me, Mr. Lloyd Daniels, has been kind of hanging with us the last couple hours. How you doing, Lloyd?
Doing great, Tom.
You set me up with our two guests today and gave me a copy of their record. I guess it's been 3 or 4 weeks ago. I don't remember. It was it Pam's Benefit out at Hop's house?
Yes.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, man, these guys, this album's really good.
It's fabulous. It's one of the best I've ever heard in my entire life.
Yeah, I really gave it a critical listen today when I went through and listened to all the tracks, and I'm really impressed with the complex arrangements and the great melodies. And these aren't beginners. These guys have been arranging and writing music quite some time. Richard Kent Gaudette and Bob Christopher. Let me see if I can get them up. Are you guys with me?
I believe we are, Tom.
Let me turn you up a little bit. Try it again.
Good afternoon, Tom.
Good afternoon. Thank you guys so much for driving all the way down here and joining us on the air tonight for Songwriters Studio. The name of the album is The Map, and what a piece of work this is. Good gracious. How long did it take to write these songs?
The songs were written over a number of years. The recording took several years because obviously it's just the two of us. It was an endurance project. It really was, but it was a labor of love. We enjoyed it.
Well, I first got the record from Lloyd and listened to it on the way home from the Hop's house, and it's so hard to listen critically to a record when you're driving. And I sat down today and really listened to each song beginning to end, and it just blew me away, the complexity in the guitar work you two guys are doing and the vocal harmonies on top of it. And you're pointing at each other. You're giving each other high fives. And what a great arranged record. And the song complexities, it almost reminds me of some of the early 70s stuff when they really got into the progressive prog rock, they called it. It was when they brought this whole new era of complex writing into the material. I'm not comparing you to Emerson, Lake and Palmer and Yes, but it's on that same realm of complexity and just really, really top-notch songwriting.
Well,
I'm sure this took a long time you just didn't go into the studio and say, let's just blow these out. These were very carefully arranged.
They really were. The influences. I mean, Bob he was very heavily influenced by progressive rock and a lot of jazz, and I had some of that, but I was a lot more of a folky. I was much more into the lyrical part. When I met Bob, it was an opportunity to do things with my acoustics material that I'd never been able to do before. I wanted to orchestrate a lot of it and kind of, make it a little bit more complex. And Bob kind of stepped into that role with his guitars, his electrics, and his basses and stuff. It was it evolved over several years. We didn't start out doing it, but originally we started out kind of trying to be very acoustic, but then it just got real complex real fast because it was an opportunity. So
I'm going to be jumping around in this record. I'm not going to play these in order. I'm going back and forth because I want to show the diversity of the writing on this record, and I want to play several of the instrumentals that just really knocked my socks off when I heard them. And as a matter of fact, I want to start with the very first track. It's only a minute and a half, roughly, give or take. What a great song to start this album out with. Okay. Let's start out with it. It's called Till Then, and we're going to get back and do a little bit more chatting right after this.
Great.
Till Then, the brand new opening track. The album is The Map. We've got Richard Kent Gaudette and Bob Christopher in the studio. Brand new release. I guess it just came out, right?
Absolutely.
What a great piece of work you guys put out. And tell me a little bit about what we had playing there. I know there was a guitar, but what was that in the background?
That was originally written kind of as an answer to what Bob does. Bob is... he wrote most of the instrumentals on the CD, but strangely enough, I actually wrote this one. It's acoustic guitar with an acoustic guitar. Great story. It was actually those parts were recorded in the bathroom, just because of the nice tile walls. We used some synthesizers, keyboards to create the bells and some of the other nice sounds. And then Bob is playing bass, that kind of oboe-ish, wonderful melodic sound in the kind of the last half of the track. He kind of like just enhanced the whole thing, put it over the top. It was, in a way, it was one of the less complex things we did. When I wrote it, Bob kind of listened to it and said, "That's the first track on the CD." And I said, "Okay."
No, I agree. I think it's a great opening track. And if people don't like it, well, they only have a minute and a half to sit through it.
There you go. And that's about the shortest song I've ever written. So.
I love the song myself. Don't get me wrong.
Thank you.
I think it was a great opener. I'm going to jump up to track 8, Heaven. Really, really good harmonies on this song. Tell us a little bit about the writing and etc. that went into composing this track.
Heaven's, most of my writing is true stories. I tend to write from my experiences, things in my past and whatnot. And Heaven is where I grew up in Canada. And so I wrote this song about it, and it's actually the first one that we actually started putting together on the CD. It was really the first one we kind of like got down, and then it was actually the last one we actually finished at the same time. It kind of took the whole time to do it. But it's just a story about, and it's all a true story. So it's just about growing up as a kid.
Let's jump into Heaven
Thank you.
right now, and we'll be back and do a little bit more chatting.
As a child, I lived somewhere near heaven, a sleepy town in South Ontario, nestled by a river out of nowhere, with rolling hills and drifting clouds of snow. Summertime would find us down on Queen Street, sun and shadow dripping in the air. The old brick shops with bargains in their windows reflected back our faces as we stared. When the winter came, we could walk across the river to hunt with daisy rifles in the trees. Sometimes it was so quiet you could even hear the snowfall whisper through the rusted leaves. And I pray that I may one day see heaven again. Search for spirits living at the old farm. We ran like deer through fields, we laughed aloud. We watched the forest changing with the seasons, and plowed with sleds and bikes the rolling clouds. And then there came the night. I looked out from my window, the angel fires up in the sky. I threw the shutters wide to the sharp and Windsor night cold, to let the colors run inside. And I pray that I may one day see heaven again. Steve has raised a family there in Streetsville. Stan travels hard, but still lives there today. Mike moved west for haven in the mountains. And I've always wished somehow I could have stayed. So when I die, I wanna go to heaven. One quick thought from Lake Ontario. Dust my ashes on the Credit River. Forever let my ghost drift with the snow.
Richard Kent Gaudette, Bob Christopher. The name of the album, The Map. What a great piece of work, guys.
Thank you.
I noticed there's an ongoing theme of the I don't know if it's ocean or something that you put in between a lot of these tracks. Tell me what that is.
We did. We were trying to tie things together. We recorded some rain, and we have some thunder, and we used bells as a repeating motif throughout the CD. And so we kind of mixed those sounds. There is some ocean sounds in a couple of the songs, simply because they were kind of, I don't know how to say, except they were nautical in nature. We're both interested in ships and aircraft and things like that, so we just kind of incorporated that into the music.
Would you consider this a concept album? It sort of is, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. It didn't start out exactly to do that, but it became that pretty quick.
And typically an instrumental album doesn't follow that, but after listening to this, it is.
Oh, yeah. The instrumentals add a lot of emotion to this. So,
I'll tell you what, I've got two tracks that I want to choose from, and I'll let you two make the decision on this. I'm either going to play Riding the Bow Wave or New Hope next. You make the choice.
I think the preferred be go Riding the Bow Wave.
Okay, let's cue that up. Tell us a little bit about this track.
That would be Bob, so I'm going to let him talk.
It basically typical situations after relationships and everything. You feel like you've got to get things out and everything. So it was a particular riff that I started working on, and as I laid it out and as I started recording it, as I was listening back to it, those visions of the dolphins jumping in the bow wave just kind of came to mind. And then also, whenever we started doing the bigger portion of the recording of it, when Richard went in and did the front end of it, it really kind of added the sense of, I kind of look at it as the pictures of the surfers. When you're under the wave looking at the surfer going over and the waves going over your head, it just gives me that kind of sense listening to the beginning of the song. So
that's cool. Let's listen to that track right now, Riding the Bow Wave. Riding the Bow Wave, brand spanking new music. The name of the album is The Map. The artists are Richard Kent Gaudette, Bob Christopher. Great stuff, guys.
Thank you.
Again, we're talking extremely complex arrangements here.
Well, that's a lot of Bob on that. He's very good at what I call orchestrational guitars. He layered that. There's layer after layer of electric guitar, and he did a lot of the percussion by himself and stuff. I kind of just laid bass and a little bit of keyboard. But yeah, it's very complex. But that's Bob's progressive rock thing coming through.
Be a little difficult to perform these live, especially with the layering involved.
Yeah, that's a difficulty. When I play out sometimes, I'll be playing at JP Hops this Wednesday, and I play pretty acoustic. Do the original acoustic versions of the songs, but the studio to us is more of an expression of what we can do with it when we have the opportunity. There's just two ways of looking at the same songs.
Expressed it well on this record, I'll tell you.
Thank you.
I'm looking at some of Bob's influences here. Pat Metheny, one of my favorite guitar players of all time.
Oh yeah.
Pink Floyd, Joni Mitchell, Michael Hedges. It's kind of like the record. It's all over the map,
Yeah.
And every one of these artists are great guitar players. Joni Mitchell, who's known for her vocals, is a fantastic. As a matter of fact, she pioneered a lot of the original altered tunings in her first records. She was coming up with tunings that even some of the old blues guys weren't using. I think at one time I read she was using 60-something tunings. I didn't even know that many existed, but I don't even know how to describe her. She's such an innovator and pioneer of altered tunings.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very interesting. And actually the song Heaven uses one of her tunings. I stole it straight from her. So
there you go.
Oh yeah, I'm a big fan of altered tunings. That's how I kind of get what I want out of my guitar. Bob doesn't have to change the tuning on his guitar. He just plays them.
He's a real guitar player? Yeah.
Yeah, he's the real thing.
Jim Cobb, my buddy, once told me, I use altered tunings myself. Not a whole lot, but there's 3 or 4 that I do use. He says, Tom, real guitar players don't need altered tunings. A little hard to make those 5-fret stretches, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm not buying into that. I get a little bit more vocal range out of my guitar.
I agree. Anyway, guys, I've got so many tracks off here I want to play, but we're so limited on time. I've got a couple of them. I spoke to you today, Richard, about I've got to get New Hope on the record, on the radio. Do you mind if I play that track next?
Of course.
I love this track. It's one of my favorite songs on the record. Again, the name of the album is The Map. If they want to order a copy of this, where do they go? I know they can catch you at Hop's House and buy one from you live, but if they want to order one of these, where do they go?
Just send us an email at mapcd@comcast.net.
One more time.
mapcd@comcast.net.
There you go. Listen to this track. This is wonderful. Richard Kent Gaudette, Bob Christopher. The name of the album is The Map. What a great record. One more time, guys, if they want to order a copy.
mapcd at comcast.net. Or you can come see me play somewhere.
There you go. Get an autographed copy.
Oh yeah, we'll autograph.
You guys have extra copies we can drop off some at the DJ boxes up here?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, we're going to do that. I know we've got Cliff out there listening to the show that's going to want a copy for sure.
No problem.
Listen, you're going to be, Wednesday night, you're going to be at Hop's House.
Yes, sir.
And that is Richard. Bob?
Not this one, no.
Okay. Now, you are out there occasionally.
We're working on it.
We got a couple of shows coming up that I want to tell you folks about before we go off the air, and we're down to about 2.5 minutes. Bob Livingston and Rough and Tumble will be opening up, and they're going to be playing. Let me see. The date of this is March 19th. That's next weekend at one of my favorite venues, the Thoreau Woods Coffee House. This is up in Huntsville. What a great venue they have. I've played there myself. Get out there. Google Thoreau Woods Coffee House if you want to go get tickets to go see Bob Livingston. And let's not forget, it's that time of year again, the Songwriter Contest, Wildflower, the Songwriting Arts and Music Festival. This is up in the Dallas area, May 20th through May 22nd. Will be coming up next month, and Big Wide Grin will be at Habitat Happenings. This is Celia Quinn, her concert series, and that's going to be in just a few weeks. So if you want to go see Big Wide Grin, contact Celia at celia@celia.com. Once again, thank you guys so much for being our guest today on Songwriters Studio, and please tune in. Up next, we have Whole Mother. And Lloyd, thank you so much for hanging out at the studio for the last 2.5 hours and putting your 2 cents worth in.
Thank you so much for inviting me over, Tom.
If you have any customers out there, listeners that want to come in and check out your recording studio, how can they contact you?
Daniel at songbrush.com.
Daniel at songbrush.com. Do you have a website?
It's under construction.
Currently under construction. Join us next week, Songwriter Studio. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Hi, I'm Hank Lamp.